everyone, I'm Deanne from Newfoundland, Canada. Welcome to my FlossTube channel. We are at my WIP parade and January plans. It's December 29th. It's a dullish kind of day here. We had a bit of snow overnight. We had a coating when we woke up, but it cleared off. Mom and I went to Costco. Actually, it wasn't too bad today. I don't think I've ever walked up to the self-checkout and not had to wait in a lineup. So that was cool. And we stopped at Swiss Chalet and had a bit of lunch. Yeah, and Aaron is at his dad's for the weekend. So let's get started on my WIP parade. I have 12 WIPs to show you. I have my 5 starts for January to go into a little bit more detail than the little video I posted up, a little preview video. And I have a surprise. Well, you guys kind of know it's coming, so maybe not quite a surprise. So I put my WIPs in alphabetical order. I didn't do chronological like by the dates I started, but I have one that I'm not sure when I started it. I started it before I kept track, and then the rest of them start in 2022. So there's not a whole lot of difference in when I started them. So, first up is Mini Almost Winter by Leonid Afremov for Heaven and Earth Designs. And all my full coverages are Heaven and Earth Designs, so I won't keep repeating that. And I will put a picture up of what it's supposed to look like when it's done. I started this May 1st, 2023. It's stitched 1/1 on 1/1 on Star Sapphire. And I have stitched, and I have my list of stitches here, 10,479 stitches out of 61,875. So I'm at 15%. I reached my goal for 2024. And I have put a goal of 30% complete for 2025. And here is where we are. So pretty small design. Widthwise, or lengthwise, I guess. Widthwise, it's a little bit wider, but still not a big design, so 30% shouldn't be that difficult to get to. Secondly, we have Mini Beachcomber Bounty by Amy Stewart. It was started May 9th, 2023. It's stitched 1/1 on 28 count aquamarine. And I have stitched 7,538 stitches out of 75,400. I'm at 10%, and I've put a goal of 20% on this for next year. So here is what I have completed. So really, the only thing you can pick out are the couple of little starfish up here in the corner. The peachy or orangey is beach. And of course, the aqua color is water. Next is the one that I don't know when I started, and it is Fleur de Lis by Jeanette Douglas. It's part of her Canadian Journey series. I have all 8 or 9 designs, and I'm hoping to get them all completed someday. It's stitched on 28 count antique white 2/2, and my goal is to finish maybe even this week before the new year starts, but definitely in the new year. I am on row 29 of 34. So here's where I'll just show you slowly so you can get a good look at all the rows. It's right. Push that down. This row that I'm working on is very tedious and very time consuming, and I'm actually marking off each stitch as I go to make sure I'm doing it correctly. I just need some time where it's quiet and some patience to get through that row. Obviously I have like maybe a third of it completed. The others are not that difficult, so it shouldn't take long once I get that one done to finish the rest of it. Next up, we have Home for Christmas by Donna Gelsinger. It was started December 25th, 2023, so just over a year ago. It's stitched 1/1 on 28 count ivory. I have 6,576 stitches done out of 300,675. So I'm at 2.19%. And my goal is to get it to 5%. It's a very big piece, so getting to 5% it will take a while. So here is what we have completed. Oh, hang on just 1 second. See if I can get it all in at once. There we go. So I have the width done, and I think the length done as well. So I'm not 100% sure I have the width done, but I know I have the length done. So there we are. Hopefully it's all in the, I can't see it. Hopefully it's all in the screen. So, lifetime project. But I will keep plugging away at it. Next up is Mini Hometown Hero Baseball by Donna Gelsinger. It was started January 28th, 2022. It's stitched 1/1 on sapphire blue. And I have 8,449 stitches out of 84,500. So I'm at 10%. And my goal for next year is to get it to 20%. And here we are. This is what I have done. So I have the width of it blocked out, and I'm pretty sure I'm close to having the length of it blocked out as well. So next we have Little Things Sampler by Stitches Through the Years, which I won from Mouse Potato Designs. And it is stitched, it was started February 26, 2023, and it's stitched 1/2 on 36 count light mocha. I didn't really set a goal for this because I'm not counting stitches because it's not in Pattern Keeper, but I'd like to get it's divided up into sections with words and that, and so I'd like to get the first word section in the middle done. So here we are. I have the top border done, and I have both side borders done, all the way down to the band at the bottom. Next we have Quick Stitch Pride and Prejudice by Amy Stewart. It was started April 9th, 2023. It's stitched 1/1 on 28 count blue, and I have 17,154 stitches out of 114,000 stitches, so I'm at 15%. My goal is to get it to 50%. I know that's a big goal for one piece, but we'll see. Here is where we are. So we have this one pretty much completely blocked out the whole border. So it's that big. You can't really see a whole lot of details. These are books right here in the, let me just fold it down. Right here in the blue, this is Darcy, right here. Elizabeth is right here. There is an archway right there. And this green is a curtain that's on every section of this larger bookshelf. So there we are. I'm planning as one of my starts a restart on Anne of Green Gables. I had started it and I didn't like the fabric I was stitching it on. And those two are my two favorite books from when I was growing up and I guess as a young adult. So I'd like to have the two of them done and done side by side on the wall. We'll see. Now, next we have my Quaker Canada flag. If you saw my video from just a couple of days ago, you saw my little chat about that. It's by Vivisters on Etsy, and it's Vivian. oh my goodness, I can't think of her last name, but her shop on Etsy is Vivisters. It was started January 4th, 2024. It's stitched 1/1 on white Lugana, and I've stitched 11,129 out of 48,382 stitches, so I'm at 23%. My goal is to get it to 50% once I figure out what I'm doing between the white and the grey thread. And a couple of people suggest maybe tea-dyeing or antiquing the fabric, somehow protecting the red stitches and kind of antiquing the fabric around and where the grey or white thread is supposed to be, so that the white would show up. And that's an idea. I'm going to get the white, stitch, and see what it looks like, and show you guys and get an opinion on whether I should do something with the fabric. I don't know why I picked white, other than the fact that the mock-up was stitched on white. So anyway, here's what, upside down. Here is what is done. The red column is done, and like I said, if you didn't see my last video, I stitched some of the gray stitches for the other half of that motif, and I just don't like it. Ooh, lighting. It just looks dirty next to the, but now the bright white might not show up. We will see. Okay. Up next we have Queen of Hearts by Rachel Anderson. This was stitched started May 11th, 2022. It's stitched 1/1 on 28 count dahlia, and I have 11,423 stitches out of 317,000 stitches, and I am at 3.60%. My goal for this year was 5%. I might get a chance to stitch on it in the next couple of days, but I'm not going to get to 5%. My goal for next year is to get it to 10%, which I don't know that I'm going to do either. So here's where we are. And here, there is a ton of background because this is the queen over here, and all the background has to be brought over to her and then continued past her, which gives me a lot of background. So I don't know if you guys can see her. There's her head with her face, a little bit of shoulder, a little bit of arm. Yeah, there's a lot of stitching to do in her. And this is my second piece, excuse me, that I didn't get to the goal for this year. Next is River's Edge by Kevin Daniel. It was started March 11th, 2023. It's stitched 1/1 on 28 count lichen gray. I have 20,352 stitches out of 80,500. I'm at 25.32%. My goal this year was to get to 50%, but it didn't happen. Like I said, I may stitch it on it a bit in the next couple of, but I'm not going to get 25% of it done. My goal is to finish it next year. It's for my son. It will either be finished for his graduation in June, his birthday in July, or Christmas in December, but it will be finished for one of those. Here is where we are. With a whole lot of stitches of very hard to pick out stuff. It's mostly trees and sky and snow. There are 6 ducks, I think. There is one right here. Yep. There is one right here. There's one right here. There's one right here. There's one right here. And there's one right here. You can probably see 2 of them. Next we have Snowflake Wonder by Lisa Victoria. It was started February 3rd, 2022. It's stitched 2/2 on 28 count ice blue. Gets confusing going from this one to another one or going from another one to this one. Oftentimes I have to pick out stitches because I've either stitched one of my 1/1s 2/2 after leaving this one, or I start stitching this one 1/1 and realize, oh no, it's 2/2. So it is, I have stitched 10,199 out of 40,125 stitches. It's at 25.04%. I've written down a goal to finish it next year. Not sure that's going to happen where I have to finish the other one and I'm doing all my starts next year, but that's my goal. So, here we are. You can see my baby dragon. You can see his nose and his mouth and his neck. He's so cute. There we go. And WIP number 12 is Mini Warm at Home by Irina Garmashoff. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think I've been pronouncing Garmashoff. Anyway, Garmashoff, maybe? It was started May 28th, 2023. It's stitched 1/1 on 28 count ivory. I have stitched 7,613 out of 68,575. I'm at 11.10%. Put my goal at 25%. So we'll see how that goes. And here is where we are. Actually, I think I can fold this in too. This is what we have done. Lighting again. Sorry about that. It's hard to see a black and white when the lighting is dull, but got to take what you get at this time of year. So it's hard to see what's again, but if you look here, you can see some fur hairs off there. You might think that doing a monochromatic black and white is difficult to do, but actually this one is really easy to stitch on. And those are the WIPs that I am carrying into next year. Now for the surprise, I don't have a 13th that I'm carrying in because I am finished. Yay! It's a little wrinkly because it was damp when I picked it up and I guess the fabric got folded over. But here we go. Ta-da! Mini Sunflower by Marion Broom is complete. It is stitched 1/1 on 25 count daffodil. I'm not. Oh, that's a pretty good picture. There. It is gorgeous. I cannot wait to get it on my wall. It may take a little bit of time because my framer is in a very terrible spot in town and I have to park in a parking lot that's like 3 blocks away because there's no parking where they are and they're at the top of a hill and I don't parallel park. I especially don't parallel park on the hill. So it needs to be decent enough to walk and not like freezing, and so it might be, now who knows, the weather may clear up in a few weeks, or we may be having piles of snow and we'll just have to wait and see, but it will definitely be framed and I will definitely show you guys when it's framed. And that is my WIP parade. We're at about 18 minutes and 45 seconds, which is probably the quickest WIP parade you will watch this year. I'm going to clear them off my table and I'm going to dig out my plans for next year and I'll be back in just a second. I know I just said my plans for next year, but I mean January. I'm only going to show a month at a time. And on the 1st of January, I will be doing my little preview video for my pieces that I'm starting in February. So first up, January 1st, hurry up and get here. I will be working on starting October 31st by Cottage Garden Samplings. And the way I'm working my starts is I'm starting a new piece every Wednesday of the year. And I'm starting a piece on my birthday in May, my son's birthday in July, and Christmas Day. So that will give me 55 starts. I will be working on each piece for a week. My goal is to get 200 stitches in a day, which shouldn't be that difficult. Unless I'm really, really sick. But that's my goal and that's my plan, and I'm gonna be updating you guys every 2 weeks, and so you're gonna motivate me to do it. So I am stitching October 31st on 36 count winter moon that I then over-dyed myself, and this is the piece that I will be stitching it on. Now this is the more mottled, more colorful side, and this is the duller side, but I think my plan is to stitch it on this side just because I love that little bit of brown in with the stars, and I think that will look really good together. And I am using the called for colors, which are 3768, 3371, 3053. I can't even read my own numbers. 839, 830, 746, 646, 524, and then we have two specialties. We have the Gathering Art, and we have Gathering Arts. Oh, let me get them apart. Oh, Tin Bucket and Raven. So here they are. And that is the third piece I am stitching in this series of A Time for All Seasons. I also have the fourth one in my list for this year, but it hasn't come up yet. And that is Snow Time, I believe it's called. It's the one with the snowman. So that's the 1st of January. On the 8th of January, I am starting a temperature chart, my very first temperature chart. But this is the year my son is graduating from high school. So I thought that would be a good year mark for temperature. So I am doing the Rainbow Temperature Supernova from Climbing Goat Designs. I am stitching it on 28 count black linen. And I was like, what's that thread? But I have marked the center of my piece, or the start point, not the center, the start point, I think, of my piece. I think I have to review it and make sure I am starting in the right spot, because this one is a little bit confusing over where you start and what you stitch, but I did it. And the way I figured out the colors and all that, she gives lots of different color chart options of spectrum of colors, but I took the high from last year and the low from last year, and I subtracted and figured out how the range of temperatures, and it was 48 degrees. So she actually has one with 48 colors, so each one from -18 to +29 has a different color. Now if we go below -18 or above 29, I just included them, but she does have, I think, a 52 color one that I could actually go there and say, well, what colors did she add on for those? We haven't, I'll see if we hit those temperatures before I decide if that's actually what I'm going to do or not, or we might not even get as high as 29, we might not get as low as -18, so we'll see. So that's that one. Then on January the 13th, I am starting Daisy May by Stitching with the Housewives. And the way I decided is I put my 55, cut up 55 pieces of paper, put them in that little marshmallow jar, and my son pulls out numbers, and I have a listed all 55 charts that I'm stitching next year. Whichever number he pulls out, whatever the corresponding, so there's no seasonal or anything like that. It's just whatever he pulls out. So Daisy May came out third. This is a pattern I won from the Housewives Plus Tube channel. And my mom saw it and said, oh, that's so pretty. I'd like to have that. So I'm stitching it for my mom. I'm stitching it on 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself with Aquamarine, I think it was called. And did it so that it would have a bit of modeling in it, some lighter whitish colors. And I got all the called for colors that are for this pattern. And they're all classic color works. And they are Queen Bee, Ladybug, Steamed Broccoli, Blushing Beauty, Gingerbread, Bamboo, and Black Coffee. So that should be a fun start. And next on January 22nd, I am starting. I said this was my nostalgic start. Back when I started stitching, Olivine was my favorite, and I've stitched, I want to say 10 or 11 at least Olivine. So I gave several away as gifts. I did a bridal one. It was a room, and the bride was stood up in front of a mirror, and there was a bed, and the veil was on the bed. Like, it was a big one. And I did that for a friend that I stood for her way back in the 90s, mid-90s. And I have a couple downstairs. My mom has one or two. I also gave a couple more away. So she was a big influence on my early cross stitch, and I haven't stitched one since I would switch from Aida to even weave and linen. So can you imagine doing all the quarter stitches and all that on Aida? So I said I wanted to do one just for nostalgia's sake, and I had this book and I've never stitched anything out of it, so I picked the January. Actually, I had seen years ago, I don't know if it was from this book or another book, that someone had turned the cross stitches into quilt blocks, like had the cross stitch and border fabric around it, and turned, I don't know if it was 8 or 10 or something, into a quilt. I said I'd love to be able to do that. I'm not a quilter, but so I thought, I went through and I picked out 5 or 6, and 4 or 6. It had to be an even number. And maybe even just 4 and turn it into a lap quilt. We'll see. But anyway, so I'm doing this one, which is the January. And I am stitching it on 28 count Monaco. And I thought if I did 4 and I stitched them all on the 28 count Monaco, it would be, hopefully they'd all come out like similar size, and it would be easy to figure out how to put them on, make them into a quilt. We shall see. And then finally, the last one on January 29th, I am doing Flamingo Frolic by Helen Daly. This design right here. And I'm hoping to turn it into my first stand-up. I'm stitching it on 25 count, which is what she stitched hers on, so it should work out to be the same, so just 25 count white, and it should work out to be the same size as hers to be able to do the stand-up like hers, and just DMC floss, white, 17 is the yellow, 367 is the green, 3713 is the light pink, 3716 is the medium pink, 3766, 3799, 3832 is the dark pink, and 3864. There we go. And those are my starts for January. If there's anything you'd like to start along with me, just comment or tag me in Instagram, or even if something by the same designer. I'd love to have a buddy to stitch along with. Like I said, for at least the week that I'm stitching, we can do a start along. And yeah, so I think that's everything. Oh, no, one more thing. I'm doing WIP Go as well. I forgot, sorry. I'm doing WIP Go in the back of my book here. I created my WIP Go board on pencil, so it's probably hard. But instead of doing projects, I did goals. So the first two numbers were 11 and 20. Jessie Murray does stuff. She does WIP Go, and she calls them on her FlossTube, I think, and Instagram, maybe Facebook group, I think. So 11 and 20 were called for January. My goals for number 11 were to stitch 250 stitches, and I spun my WIP wheel and came up with Mini Beachcomber Bounty. So I will be doing 250 stitches on that in January. And the other number 20 was to stitch one day, and I spun and I came up with Mini Hometown Hero Baseball. That one I may get in on the 30th of December to so I don't screw up my starts in January, to try and get a full day in on that. And now I think that's it. So I will be back in 2 weeks' time for my regular WIP Go, but on the 1st of January, look for my little preview of my February starts. And have a good day. Bye.